Hey there, students, School of Tomorrow, design scientists, friends, Pythonistas. We are rolling here. Where I left it, I was introducing you to like the code language that we use. Trim tab is one of the key words. You can look that up. Here's Trim tab Tesla beer can collection. That Tesla beer can, by the way, I got at Quarter World. Quarter World is down the street, and they have a Tesla coil. And they have a show like Sunday. It's really loud. You got to wear earplugs. It's on Hawthorne. So I went to El Mercado for my meetup, and I brought along my storyboard for the underground comic because some of the people there know other people in the comics world. Like, I'm just trying to open source some of these ideas. Some of them I keep for myself. I also brought the Jitterbug along because that's kind of a trademark, by the way, of the geometry that we teach. You don't always think geometry comes in flavors, but what we're trying to do is differentiate a brand in a way. So if you don't give off sufficient signals or pheromones or whatever, that you like are on board with the geometry that I'm sharing here. And I have flags of the world behind it because I'm saying, most good people are on board. It's just they haven't, realized it yet. But those of you who are looking at mastering the details, right, you have some homework cut out for you. Now, this was a funny picture, right? I don't know if you get the joke there, but there was some people masking themselves at this meeting. They didn't want you to actually maybe see who they really were. Actually, that's not the case. It was just a funny joke we were passing around. The coffee shops network. Banks did get their start in London around the coffee shops. I think it was the caffeine. It got people in a mood to discuss business, make deals, and before you know it, you had banks. So, what I go into next is the coffee shops network business model, which is open source, but not everybody is. This is more Bucky vector equilibrium. It's kind of a Don Quixote sort of feel to it. Sort of, El Mercado is kind of a Day of the Dead sort of motif here. So what I'm talking about here is the coffee shops network, which is a way to give anybody an experience of donating to charity, of being a philanthropist. To say that you have to be like a multimillionaire and then you get to start advertising who you give money to and making that like to your benefit. Like if you're a Hollywood star and you give $1 million to whatever, that's great. But we want to give people from ordinary walks of life an experience of giving money. So we have this arcade, you could say, of video games or computer games where you get to be the hero. And if you win, you get, depending on how much you win, you get to give your winnings to the charity of your choice. And not every coffee shop supports the same choices. That's an individual shop management decision because, my Planned Parenthood is your terrorist organization, right? So you don't want to like give money to charities X, Y, and Z, and you might not even go to the coffee shops that support X, Y, and Z, but some do. And you can be in the Hall of Fame as a player with a profile as winning games and supporting the causes of your choice. Now, the GW up here stands for Goodwill, and PC is Profit Center. So if you're a profit center, in classical economics, you had an actual line item called goodwill. It basically means donating to charity. But in this picture, instead of taking all the credit, you give it to the coffee shops network, your donation, and it gives individuals a chance to decide for themselves who they want to support. So there's more of a democratic thing and sharing your profits. You're saying, okay, the part that I'm going to donate to charity, instead of letting the CEO decide or the board of directors decide, we're going to let ordinary people decide by supporting the coffee shops to be switch points. so that I can walk in there, buy a bagel and a latte, and before you know it, I've helped donate money and got that on my profile. Now, charity, I just use as a bucket for a very large category of donations. Basically, donations that when you give to charity, it's like we often say tax deductible in some language games. But the idea is it's to a worthy cause. Now, again, you have to exercise discretion here. And do you get to expunge your record? Like if you were giving money to like a political party and then you decide you don't want that showing, can you hide that you donated? These are questions that I'm not going to, it depends on your business model because I've open sourced the generic model just to make sure that nobody gets in there and tries to patent a workflow. You'd be amazed what crazy stuff people claim they own. So a lot of times what you need to do is just give things away so that other people won't say it's their idea, right? So I give a lot of stuff away in the idea department, mainly to prevent trolls and other like sort of patent trolls and other very dubious legal pirates from capitalizing on that. Oh, I own this idea, whereas you really had nothing to do with that idea, right? And we have to be especially sensitive to this in the Bucky camp, where we're developing using his ideas and not planning to like pay big royalties for capitalizing on what Bucky wanted humanity to have for free. He worked really hard to give us some of these ideas, and the idea that someone would get between us and our ancestors who really wanted us to succeed is just disturbing. So we make sure that we have a direct pipeline, don't owe any intellectual property rights, no royalties. Make sure we've got all of that free and clear so that we can go ahead with our projects. So nobody owns play to donate, be a hero. Let's be clear. It's no trademark on that. Nobody owns the coffee shops network business model. It's just some of us have meetings about it and are moving ahead on it while the rest of you suck your thumbs, right? So it's not like we don't compete. The business model may be open, but who's actually taking the time to invest, right? And that's always been the question. Who's serious and who's all talk? Who's all hat and no cattle? Got a lot of those. All right. Hope that was entertaining. Talk to you soon.